to have this. Jackson fumbles the ball. The Giants recover for a touchdown.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. And welcome to the Gridiron. And before I get started, I just want to say thank you so much, everyone out there who's been watching my videos. Thank you. If you can maybe give this video a thumbs up or possibly leave a comment below, maybe even share this video, it would mean so much to me. But at least anyway, just thank you so much for just taking time out of your day to check out this video. Thank you. Well, I saw an article. Kind of interesting. I'll leave a link in the description box. Check it out if you want. But there was with this article, they gave 13 different named players, prospects, wherever, that the Giants interviewed at the Combine. And the guys they interviewed, a little, it's kind of interesting. It's, it's got a little rhyme and reason to it. So I'll explain some of that as we kind of go along here, right? So, but basically at the Combine, I mean, there's a boatload of guys there. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of guys in college that deserve, to be in the Combine that just didn't get invited. They only bring in so many guys. But I mean, if you at the Combine with all the prospects / players, whatever you want to call them, if you bring pretty much all of your entire staff, like Robert Saleh, apparently he was from the Jets. The Jets goes, he stayed back in Jersey to get caught up on some stuff. Now maybe he had some draft stuff to do, or maybe it was some free agency, or whatever. But so he didn't go. The GM went. Plus they're scouting, all that. But I mean, so apparently maybe their whole staff didn't go. I mean, well, apparently like the Giants, Shane was there, Dable was there. So the Giants kind of sent like everybody, So apparently you get a chance to talk kind of like, off the cusp or whatever to almost, anybody, you might be interested in. Or you could do a good job. You might be able to talk to pretty darn near almost everybody, I mean, unofficially. I mean, you can ask them, somebody maybe a question here, or talk about something over there, I mean, you can't basically, I guess, stand there and talk to them for half an hour, You get 45 formal interviews with the 300 prospects that are in attendance, right? So, you basically, you get the 45, and that's when you can, start unloading, a bunch of questions. But I mean, see, you can, by just standing there and looking at the guys, see, there's something Shane was talking about too. I mean, and there's one thing that stuck in my brain is that, I mean, obviously this is not a make or break thing, but it's just one of those things that he checks off. He's like, how do the guys like just ask for water? Say, hey, can I have some water, please? Thank you very much. Or is it, yo, hey, yo, let's go, I'm thirsty. What, I mean, right? Just simple little things like that. I mean, that, you can just be off to the sideline and you can just hear that, you can see that, you can see how the guys are, acting to adversity. Maybe, guys maybe having a rough day. Does he just kind of put his head down, start kicking at the dirt and just say, that's it for me, Or the guy maybe wide receiver might drop a couple passes and does he get all flustered, or does he just start after that, does he just start catching everything and say, so a lot of this stuff you can pick up, by not even talking to them. But I said they got 45 formal interviews that they had. All right, now not all of the 45 guys, apparently, according to this article, all right, that the Giants interviewed are known. Now I'm not sure. I mean, they got 13 people on this list. I mean, I'm not sure if these are the only 13 that are known and the other 32 are not known. I mean, but I just thought it kind of interesting that the little trend kind of going on here. All right. Well, first of all, they met with, 3 tight ends. There was 3 in this article. There's a list of 3 tight ends that they met. Okay, Trey Mcbride from Colorado State, who, I mean, I'm kind of hearing, quite possibly is the number one tight end. That's what I'm hearing from Colorado State. I mean, he graded out like PFF. He graded out well over a 90. I mean, very, very good. Jeremy Ruckert from Ohio State and Greg Dulcich, all right, from UCLA. Dulcich, he, I think, kind of like a more of around 4 or 5 kind of guy, McBride is, possibly like, maybe a second, late second, third round kind of guy. So I mean, the guys that they interviewed could be taken anywhere from maybe mid to late second round to the 5th round. All right. So I mean, if McBride, I don't think the Giants are going to be taking him with their 2nd round pick. I just don't see that happening. I think that's way too early for him. But I mean, if he's there with one of their 2 third-round picks, or maybe, Shane was talking about maybe kind of moving up. If there's somebody there like Trey Mcbride, I mean, might move up, take a 3rd rounder and group it with somebody else, another pick, or a couple other picks, and maybe move up, and maybe go get this guy. But I was finding kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, none of the tight ends are being taken in the 1st round. Yeah, I mean, or the Giants ain't taking no tight ends in the 1st round or 2nd round. But I mean, what it's interesting to see is that they're talking to these, like possibly the top tight end, and they're kind of filtering on down to maybe a 5th rounder. So possibly with one of their middle round picks, 3rd to 4th or 5th, one of those picks in there because they got the 2/3, the 4th, possibly they might try to target a tight end there. Now also, I mean, if you're going after Trey McBride, I mean, I was seeing stuff about like leaving the door open for Evan Ingram to come back and stuff like that. So I mean, it's like, well, I mean, if you got Evan Ingram, I mean, and that's the thing too. It's kind of like, well, I also saw maybe Evan Ingram might move out and not be a wide receiver, being that tight end anymore. So I mean, maybe Trey McBride, if you was to draft him and you brought Evan Ingram in, or you re-sign him, McBride would wind up being the true tight end, and Ingram would maybe wind up moving out. But I mean, if you're targeting maybe a tight end, maybe there's a chance that maybe they're not going to wind up bringing back Evan Ingram. Because you want to spend a 3rd round pick on him. I mean, I guess possibly anything's possible, but it's just kind of interesting. I mean, obviously they're not 1st or 2nd round, but they are interested. The Giants are interested with possibly maybe a 3rd round pick going after a tight end, or in those middle rounds. They're not, apparently what they're looking at is okay, we'll just grab a tight end with our 7th round selection. We'll be good with that. No, I mean, they're looking, they're looking at getting somebody possibly good with the tight end position. Okay, so keep that kind of in mind. McBride is, he's really good. Maybe he's one of our 3rd round picks. PFF, I mean, he graded out 94.7. He had 91 receptions. I think he only had 1 touchdown, but 91 receptions for a tight end, tall, 1,125 yards. He only had 3 drops in 91 receptions. So a very un-Evan Ingram-like, if I might say so. So very sure hands. That's very, very good. Then they met with 2 running backs, okay, which is interesting. Got Isaiah Spiller from Texas A&M and Damien Pierce from Florida. Maybe like a 3rd or 4th round looking guys there, right there. Anywhere from 3rd, 4th, or 5th. Kind of maybe along the lines of maybe the tight end, because they let Devontae Booker go. You're going to need somebody to back up Saquon Barkley, unless we trade him. But I mean, it's just kind of interesting that they're not. If they were full blown at talking about maybe trading Saquon Barkley, maybe they might try to draft a better running back. So very interesting. But I mean, we're looking at maybe a mid-round, 3rd, 4th, or 5th round running back as well too. Okay, probably somebody just to back up Saquon, right? And then there's the other thing there too, is that maybe back him up, but also somewhere along the line maybe obviously replace him as well too, because you got. These guys are in the 3rd and the 4th round. Spiller is he's very elusive. He had 20, good running, obviously, but he had 25 receptions. He had 0 drops. Same thing with Pierce. He's very elusive too. He also had 0 drops. He had 19 targets, 19 catches, 0 drops. So very, very good. So I mean, well, it'll be interesting to see. I guess you have to wind up considering is that the backup Saquon, but if the Giants don't re-sign Saquon, because they're going to have to come up with 10, 12 million to sign him. I mean, not only that, but you have to sign him for like 3-4 years. I mean, he's not going to want a 2-year deal. I mean, maybe a 4-year deal, So, I mean, they're going to have to come up with like, $10, $12 million a year. I mean, are they going to wind up doing that next year? It'd be interesting to see. I mean, a lot of it depends upon Saquon. How does he do this year in the new offense? And can he stay healthy? I mean, I think that's huge for him. If he can't stay healthy, could be bye-bye Saquon. But anyway, so we're looking at possibly maybe picking a running back, not early, but maybe in the middle rounds as well, too, right? Then they met with one wide receiver. Now, this is pretty interesting, okay? Treylon Burks, right, from Arkansas, 6'3", 225. He's looking at, first, maybe, the drafts are all over the freaking place, but first or second rounder, all right? Giants ain't taking it with pick number 5 or pick number 7. The only way I could see them maybe taking him is somewhere along the line of, I can't remember what the Steelers are picking, but the Steelers, for some reason, wanted to go from whatever they were, 19 or 21, all the way up to pick number 7 to draft a quarterback. I can maybe see that then. But we're not taking him with picks number 5 or 7. That's just not happening. But I'm saying, maybe, just talking to him, possibly the second round pick. Wow. He's kind of very Galladay-ish, 50-50 balls. He's very good deep threat. What I was kind of reading is he's tall and he's 225. But if he gets in front of you, what they were writing on PFF anyway, right? If he gets in front of you, you ain't catch him. So he's very, very good. So that's just kind of interesting that they're actually talking to a wide receiver who might go in the first round. They said he ain't going in the top 10. Giants ain't taking him with picks 5 or 7. I'm just saying that maybe they were looking at if he's there in the second round, or if he winds up getting to the late first round, picks maybe 30, 31 or so. Maybe the Giants jump up from their second round pick, maybe grab him. That way they have 3 guys that have 5 years worth of control on him. Maybe. But I find that kind of interesting. Very, very interesting. Because, because if they would get somebody like him, possibly, that would get, at their first convenience, which I guess might be next year, 2023, they can get rid of Kenny Galladay and get rid of his salary. So that's a possibility. But, I found that interesting that they're actually willing to talk into a wide receiver who might go this early in the draft. Very, very interesting. Then they had 3 offensive linemen they talked to. I found this very interesting. And the next group of 4 guys they talked to, very interesting. This is kind of very telling. Tyler Linderbaum, the center from Iowa. Zion Johnson, the guard from Boston College. And Luke Fortner, the center from Kentucky. All right, now, so what you're looking for here is guys anywhere from mid to late first round, like Linderbaum. I've seen him 13, 15. I've seen him in the 20s. Zion Johnson, a lot of I'm seeing is kind of he doesn't make it to the second round, maybe early second round at the latest. But then Luke Fortner is center. Possibly a 3rd round pick. He's not the best center, but he's a center. Okay, but the thing is on this list anyway, is all I'm going by. All right, there's no Evan Neal, there's no Akeem Ekwonu, there's no Charles Cross, there's no Trevor Penning, there's no Bernard Raymond from Central Michigan, there's no tackles on this list, and there's no guys on this list that are going in the top 10. Very interesting. because when Shane was with Buffalo, all right, Buffalo did not select a player on the offensive line in the first round to build their offensive line. They had a very good scheme, and all, and they did not have a fantastic offensive line. They did the best they could with what they had, and it was very serviceable. I mean, of course, it helps to have Josh Allen back here. Don't get me wrong, all right, but I mean, so they do not take, they did not in Buffalo take offensive linemen in the first round. So that might be kind of telling you something. Maybe the Giants. I mean, if Evan Neal's there at pick number 5, you're not going to take. If Iquanu's not there at number 5, I guess they're maybe not going to take him. Very interesting. So maybe this is what the Giants are going to do. They won't select an offensive lineman in the first round. Linderbaum is the best graded center since they started grading in 2014, according to PFF. All right, he's the highest graded. He was the highest graded center in 2020 and in 2021. He allowed only 3 pressures in 2020, and then 2021 he got even better. 2021 he graded out a 94.5 as a center. I mean, he is a phenomenal athlete. Good center. He was a wrestler. He played baseball. He did the shot put. Okay, so he's very, very good. He was a very, very good wrestler. So the thing is that picks 5 and 7 for a center is just too high. I mean, he's going to need to put on by a little bit of weight. I mean, he's obviously very, very good. But I was hearing some things like in a couple of the games he had in the Big Ten. More recently, what I'm thinking is like Ohio State. He had sometimes hard time maybe against bigger guys who can maybe outpower him. So he might take. I'm not saying he's going to be bad in the beginning, but I mean, he might take a couple of years or so maybe to start filling out his frame, getting a little bigger, a little more stronger, and especially in the legs and all and everything, to become more and more dominant. But I mean, a lot of time just to take it center in the top 10 is just not really even as well as he graded out. But just goes to show you, I mean, the Giants obviously are looking at centers because we don't have one. I mean, unless you want to include Nick Gates, who may or may not ever play football ever again, right? So basically, we don't have a center, but they're also looking at guys possibly with their second and third, their second, 2/3 or the 4th round pick, right? Because we're going to need a couple of guys on offense. So according to these guys, these 13 guys, possibly they're looking at getting somebody in the 2nd round as far as an offensive lineman, and maybe not in the 1st round. All right, which leads us to our next 4 guys, which are on defense. And the list is incomplete because there's no cornerbacks or safeties on here. So, I mean, and in the Wink Martindale defense, you got to have good cornerbacks and safeties. You got to have guys that can cover, because when you're sending pressure, a lot of it is, they got 5 offensive blockers, you're trying to send 6. Well, if you got sending 6, you only got 5 guys. A lot of it's just straight up man on man. And if you can't cover the hot route, or if somebody blows by your guy or something like that, there's 6 points. And that's what happened a lot last year with the Ravens with Wink Martindale. So they got to have some good corners, especially if they're going to want to trade or getting rid of Bradbury. So, yeah. But very, very interesting. The next 4 guys on defense, they got Nakobe Dean, a linebacker from Georgia, who, I mean, I'm seeing everywhere from a mid first round to a late first round. He's kind of a little on the light side. All right. Devin Lloyd, the monster from the linebacker from Utah. All right, he's a first round. I mean, I've seen a lot of him in the top 10. And then of course, you got David Ojabo, the Michigan, the edge. He's a top 10 pick, and Kayvon Thibodeau, once again, edge, top 10 pick from Oregon. All right. Now the linebackers are very important in Martindale's defense as well too. I mean, as far as being able to rush the quarterback, but also if you got to drop in coverage and cover somebody, because I mean the Giants have had a hard time with their linebackers as far as coverage for a long time. So I mean this is very, very important. So if we can get a linebacker who can maybe go one-on-one with a tight end, that would be huge. Or cover a running back out of the backfield, that would be huge. So a linebackers are very, as I said, cornerbacks, safeties, linebackers, very, very important. All right. Now, of course, then you got Nakobe he's a little light. All right, but he can but being light, see, he can cover the tight ends and the running backs, which is fantastic. Lloyd is he's just a straight up stud. The thing is, with Dean, is that he did a phenomenal job, but some of it's also like the guys around him were so spectacular too on that Georgia defense. I mean, not that Dean's a horrible, don't get me wrong, but it's when all the other guys around you are so good, it makes you better too, because this guy's going to need a double team, that guy's going to need so maybe frees you up. Well, what happens when you're on a defense that's not that good, and you don't have everybody needing double teams, and maybe you got somebody on it that's giving you that can block you and giving you a hard time. What can you do then? And he didn't have a whole hell of a lot of that in Georgia. A lot of that in Georgia, he was kind of free to run around and do what he wanted to do. And when he's free to roam, he can kick some butt. But what's it going to be like when you're on maybe a weaker defense? Like, well, maybe the Giants, especially in the running game. And you got somebody coming after you and blocking you. What can you do? Lloyd did all his by himself. It was kind of like Lloyd, and then it was the rest of the Utah defense, right? So Lloyd is, he's a stud. I mean, I look quite possibly a top 10 pick for him. Jabo has a high ceiling, right? And some even people say that maybe not right now, but maybe a couple of years from now, Jabo might even be better than Hutchinson, right? Then, of course, you got Thibodeau. Now, the Giants interviewed him, and they gave him a hard time. Kind of like, not a hard time. It was just kind of like, it's kind of like, what are you going to do? Like, when things aren't going well and you're in New York and you got that pressure and all that and everything, because a lot of people are questioning, his heart. Is football number one? Or is it kind of, maybe number one while I'm making some money, and then I get my and then I'm going to start worrying maybe about other things, and football won't be quite as important to me. I mean, so this is huge. I mean, you're taking somebody like maybe number 5, and you're going to pay him, I don't know, I forgot what it is, $5, $6, $7 million, for your first 4 or 5 years, and then maybe another contract, start paying the guy big buck, and the guy's heart's not into it all the time. You want to know that right now. So, I mean, that's kind of why they gave him a little bit of a hard time, I guess. Or just asking him some tough questions, some tough love questions. But, I mean, Thibodeau kind of shook it off and all that, right? But it's kind of interesting because with these 4 guys out of these 13 on the list, look for the Giants. I mean, just with these 13 guys, that's all I'm going by. As I said, there's no safeties. I mean, Hamilton's not on here. There's none of the Sauce Gardner, the cornerbacks on here or anything like that. But with these 13 guys, I said, like in rounds maybe 3, 4, and 5, right, you can look for maybe a tight end, maybe look for a running back, right? Maybe in the second round, you can look for possibly a wide receiver. I mean, that would be a little bit shocking. But look more like maybe rounds 2, a couple of our third-round picks being offensive linemen, according to these guys are here. But look for the Giants, okay, with picks maybe 5 and picks maybe number 7, maybe to hit that defense. And, if we can get an edge rusher and maybe Lloyd, the linebacker, who can go sideline to sideline. If we let Blake Martinez go, that would be good. Or, maybe, if we're going to let Bradbury go, maybe you get a cornerback in there to take his place. Or maybe Kyle Hamilton is available, right? We let Logan Ryan go, right? So, I mean, look for according to these 13, that's all I'm going by, all right? Look for the Giants at picks number 5 and picks number 7 to go defense. Well, as always, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. You guys stay safe out there. Go Giants! Woo!